Welcome to District 7670's first inaugural district grant webinar. My name is Billy Black, and I'm going to be presenting to you today about the whys and the hows of doing a district grant in our district. Remember that this is different in each district. First of all, I want to look at the deadlines. If you have already done a district grant in this current Rotary year, those must be submitted, finalized and submitted by May 15th, 2015. If you're completing a grant application for this coming year, which is 2015-2016, the grant must be in by May 1st, 2016. And I actually think that's May 15th. So I will fix that. Oh, it needs to be in by May 15th. This is the completed grant. Complete your grant by May 1st, 2016, and then your final report. We give you 2 weeks to get your final report in. So that means if you have a summertime program, it probably will not fit into the district grant format. So choose another project that you're doing and let us help you fund that one and save the school type ones. Remember, you should have already attended the grants management seminar, someone from your club, typically president, president-elect, or grants or foundation chair. You just need one signed MOU and no separate bank account. And for this current year, you need to get up to $100 per capita to the Rotary Foundation Annual Fund. And many of you are already there or very close. If you have a question about where you are, email me and I'll make sure that we get an answer to you today. Remember that the district grants are limited to a match of $2,500. So typically, if you all did $2,500 and the foundation or the district matched your $2,500, that would be $5,000 for your total project. But there's nothing to say that you can't have a $10,000 project and just be asking us for $2,500. And remember, these can be in your community or they could be in a foreign country. It's okay, any way you want to do it. You may apply for more than one grant, but remember that priority is given to clubs with no grant yet approved. But if you do more than one grant, prioritize it, and I'll show you how to do that. I don't think I did that during the grants management seminar. The assistant governors, most of them are pretty well versed. A couple of them are on this call, so they're polishing their skills. District grants cannot be used to assist with fundraising. In other words, if you're going to have a big spaghetti dinner, we're not going to help you purchase your spaghetti and your sauce with your grant. It should not be a pass-through either, where in years past we had done shelter boxes, and you bought 2 shelter boxes, and district grant essentially bought 1 and the club bought 1. But that's check writing and a pass-through, and we really want sustainable effort and Rotarian effort involved. And I want you to rethink your grants for sustainability. And we talked about looking upstream to find out why the babies are in the river. You want to take care of the babies in the river, but go upstream and try to see if you can't help the babies from falling into the river. So let me move into grants. I am signed in as my club president or my club president-elect so that you can see what your screen typically would look like. You log into dacdb.com and go to grants. If you don't know how to log in to dacdb.com, email me and I will send you a quick link. When you click on grants, it goes to the grant overview, and you can see the grants that have been approved for this year and how much they have been approved for. And you notice that some of the final reports are already in, so they've already gotten their check. I am going to go to club grants and start talking about how to enter a grant. You'll notice that this says this is Franklin Daybreak, and it's 2014-15. You cannot apply for a grant for 2014-15. Well, you could physically apply, but there is no money left, and so it would kind of be a useless effort. So the first thing we want to do is come over here and use Change Origin Year. And you can go ahead and be doing this now. The team won't be looking at it until May, because they'll be closing out this year's grant, but you could go ahead and get your thoughts on paper or on computer. So you would change the origin year to 15-16, and then change origin year. Now you notice we're empty and it says 2015-16. Then you hit the big yellow button that says New Club Grant Request. Click here. That can't be any more understandable. You click on that and you see 3 tabs. So you need to complete as much as you can on these. And notice that there are some asterisks. So you really need to get all the asterisks down. And I'm just going to quickly go through and do a test on here. Notice that the priority is medium right now. And we're going to just project city, project state, project country, total project budget. This is how much total you expect to spend. So I'm going to say, just for the fun of it, $10,000. And when I tab, how much are you requesting from DDF? And remember, you can't request more than $2,500, but I'm going to request the total. And I'm hitting tab each time instead of using my mouse, because it's faster when you keep your keys on the keyboard, your hands on the keyboard. The target completion date, this is when you think you might finish the project. So if you know it's something that you're going to do in September, it's going to start on the 1st and you expect to be finished by the 30th, there's my finish date, and that automatically goes into the field. And then a brief project description. And I'm just going to, now this project description is the description we use when we talk to the district at the foundation banquet. We might say Arden is doing a gleaning project, and we take that verbiage from right here. So it needs to be something that's very understandable by all. And then if you're having any other clubs, you come down here and you would click on a club on the left and bring that club over to the right. And when I do this, I'm saying, okay, Black Mountain is going to work with us. So I'm going back up, and it looks like I've completed all of the pieces. I'm going to go to contacts. Now this is who should be included. DACDB sends out automatic emails at typical points in the grant. When you finish your application and you submit it for district approval, it goes to, and this year it will be Mary Seltzer, and she'll get an email saying Black Mountain or Franklin Daybreak has completed their application and is waiting for district approval. After the 15th, she'll look at all those that are waiting for approval, and she will then proceed from there. When you get your approval from the district, notice that Rachel Hoskins is the only person involved. This is where you would say you would like somebody else, and I'm going to put Chuck Sutton, who is our, and notice it's only my club here. Chuck Sutton is our service champion, and so I'm putting him so that he would get any emails from the district. And the district may not approve your grant. They may say, how about if you add this, that, or the other? And Mary is going to try to help you get your grant approved. Our object is to get the money in the hands of the clubs. So you notice you could put anybody you wanted over here. You simply, well, Rachel won't go away because I'm signed in as Rachel, but let's put Kelly over here, and then you see that I can take Kelly out. Okay, that's contacts. I'm going to go down and make sure I don't have anything else. Go back up. And then the application. Here is the application, and I don't know why this completion date doesn't come from the details tab. That's one of the corrections I've asked DACDB to fix, but we're going to go ahead and put September 30th again as our completion date. This is important. in years past, we've taken the address on file for your club, and we sent the check at the end of this process to that address, and it's gotten lost because you all closed down that, or the person whose address it was no longer exists. So put, who this is supposed to go to, and we actually have a post office box, and it does work, but we're really looking for you to put this in correctly and look it up and make sure it's correct, because we don't want a check to be going around the world. Okay, now I have completed all of that, and there's the club qualifications. The brief summary would have come over from the other screen, so I'm not going to complete that. But I am going to go back up, and it looks like I'm all done. So I click on Save. If I have missed any of the red asterisks, it will give me a message that says you haven't done it. It looks like I did them correctly. Now notice that I have two more tabs. I have a Budget tab and a Documents tab. And here's where you can change your project priority to high. This would be our most important one. Let me come over here before we leave this. We'll talk about your budget. You may choose to put more items in here. This just has the other funding and the DDF funding. If you want to add expenses in here, you may do that simply by clicking on Add Income Sources and Add Expenses. You would definitely come down here when you finish the grant and add your expenses in here. Now your Documents tab is right here, and you can upload the file. Notice that there's a backup of your file that we've already completed, and a grant application. I see Jack ask a question. I don't know how I managed to see that, but he said, what determines the priority? Your club determines the priority, and this would only be necessary to do if you submitted 3 grants, and you would say this one is high, another one would be medium, and the last one would be the lowest one. That's so that we don't decide if we're only going to do one per club. We're not the ones deciding what your priorities are. But to upload a file, such as your signed MOU, you would come here and you browse to inside your desk, and let's see, I should have an MOU from my club in Rotary, Franklin Daybreak Rotary, and beats the heck out of me where it is. So I'm just going to go back one and pick a file to stick in there and open. But once you have that there, you just click on Upload File, and it takes a minute for it to upload. And now adding bulletins is the document I put in. You would put your MOU that you have signed and scanned in there. Anything else that you want us to read, you would do that. Now I'm finished essentially, and I would click on Collect Grant Signatures. And it says you're about to start the process to collect the club signatures on this grant application. If you continue, the next step is for the club to get the required number of signatures. I'm going to say okay. Well, let's cancel that because I don't know who I put in the signatures. Come over here to the left-hand side and click on Club Signatures. That's interesting. And here's who should sign it. Here's the signature restriction, and it took them from the other screen that we were looking at. So the person that can sign it is Rachel and Chuck. So let's go back to Club Grants, and here's our test right here. So I'm going to click on the pencil, and then I'm going to collect grant signatures and say okay. Now there's a piece called Signatures, and I'm going to go to Signatures, and it says that we already have an e-signature for Rachel, and so there is a message being sent to Chuck Sutton, an email message telling him to come in and to click on the button and sign it. I'm going to see what it looks like. Sign grant. Come on. All right, now let's look back at the signatures. See that you can tell that, whoops, Rachel has signed. Well, it's behind my little control panel. Let's see if I can push it out. So you can see that we've got Rachel's signature, and it's just simply an e-signature. She submitted it, and now she has signed it. So this is what it looks like when somebody has signed it. So if you're wondering why it hasn't gotten very far, it's because Chuck Sutton hasn't signed this. It says, notice it says right here, 1 of 2 received. So that's all you have to do to submit a grant. It also says only 1 of 2 lead signatures have been made. Now let's go back to, let's see if I can get up higher. I'm going to go back to grants here and go to club grants. And I'm going to change the date so that you can see what happens when it's time to finish the grant. So I'm changing it back to 14-15 so you can see one that has been finished. Let's say that we're finished with the scholarship grant. Now, some people click here, and you can. Let me show you what happens. You should click on the pencil. Here's where you can edit and get back to that pencil right there. Looks like I have a chat, but I don't see it. So here is, we're ready to collect the final signatures. Here's the final report. And what the final report does, it gives you your original documentation. So you would come in here and change anything, and you change it to past tense. The reason we give this to you is so that you don't have to go back and print out what you originally put in. So you can see what you put in for describe the project, and now you can say that you did this, or perhaps you changed something. So I would simply say 2 scholarships for continuing education were completed, and then I might put the people's names in there, how we presented it, how many people benefited from the project, who were the beneficiaries, and so we would change that documentation, how many Rotarians participated, what did they do, and I'm just simply I'm gonna delete all this when I get finished, so I'll have to come back in. My club will kill me. The financial report will show from what you have put in your expenses, and then your certifying signatures are down here, and they would show up through another method. So let's get our pictures in there now. So we're going to go back to documents, and I'm going to add a folder called pictures. Come on. And you must give us at least 1 picture that we can use. So I add a folder called pictures, and then I come in here and open it, and then upload a picture, and I browse my computer for that picture. So you would have already put, there's a picture, and I upload that file. So you would have already taken your pictures, put them in your computer, and then you just simply go search for them. So I would put several pictures. It'd be really nice to have several pictures. And then I'm going to go back to the navigation and say home so that I see the rest of the documents. And I could upload any expense types of files, such as a paid receipt that's been scanned into your computer. Any kind of documentation, maybe a letter from the school thanking you, anything that would help us know that you are finished. This year, you don't have to have multiple documentation for the same item. So if you have a paid or a 0 balance receipt, that's sufficient. You don't have to also have the check that you paid it with. So one documentation. If you only paid by check and you don't have a zero balance receipt to show for that, you can scan the check in. So that's that's how you document, and you could go back to budget and you would add expenses, and you'd simply click in here, and let's say we had a check for $1,000 to Western Carolina University, and then I put $1,000 down here, and I can add it so that you can see that it shows spent cash, and now I think I must have just put in $100, and so I want to modify that and say it's $1,000. Whenever you want to modify something, you click the pencil. Now you notice that my pie chart is half done, so I would add the expense for the other child. And I would probably put the person's name. And don't ever, for any kind of thing, make sure that you send the money to the university. So we're not writing checks to a person. So that would be finished. It shows that I spent all of my money. I'm going to the final report, and I click on Save Final Report. And that button doesn't appear until you've done all of the appropriate things, such as the expenses, and show you've spent all the money. It will allow you to save Final Report before your appropriate documents are up, but when Mary looks at it, she'll tell you you're missing documentation. I'm going back to Final Report, and here it says collect the final signatures. So when I click this, it's going to send an email to Chuck and to Rachel. I don't remember who was on this, but let's look at signatures. I was the one that signed this one. So I would have to sign off on it. So I'm not going to put any more on here because I will really muck up the club. But I can take a few questions. We've done very well, 20 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And let me do this more professionally. So this is the end of the recording for District Grants webinar.